So the news coming in this week is about a 3D printed spider, and you also have prize update, and then a reduction in filament costs that I want to talk about and give props about. So those are the news coming up this week. But before that, let's go ahead and pay the bills. This episode is brought to you by Portals. Portals is our new marketplace that allows designers to upload 3D models and then start selling prints in about 30 seconds. The way it works is you upload the model, then it is instantly quoted for the cost to print it. You give it a product description and you say publish, and then you get a link to that product. If anybody buys it, Slant 3D will print and ship that item directly to your customer for you so that designers can focus on design. Portals is a really big step for us because it helps out designers who are struggling to monetize their 3D models and don't have time to do something along with Etsy or run their own print farm, and it allows so many other people who otherwise wouldn't ever create a 3D model business to actually create a 3D printing business. And again, not having to build all that infrastructure of how to ship, what is the best machine, how do I do this? You just get to focus on the creation of awesome products. So check out Portals over at slantpod.com. Okay, so the first piece of news. New per 3D printing industry, new spider-like robot Charlotte can 3D print a house in 24 hours. Australian robotics startup Crest Robotics and Earth-Built Technology have developed a semi-autonomous robot named Charlotte that blends robotics and 3D printing to build structures directly from raw materials. A prototype of Charlotte was unveiled at the 2076th International Astronautical Congress in Sydney, one of the world's largest gathering of space researchers. According to the project already received support from the New South Wales government, though its Space Plus program, which funds innovation that links space research and advanced manufacturing, is also capable of 3D printing a 200 square meter sized house in about 24 hours. Okay, let's see here. I want to know how much they've built. So, the Charlotte's developers are aiming for the robot to be used to further lunar exploration. AI-powered in Australia, population growth and record migration have outpaced supply, while regulatory delays and low construction productivity have further strained the market, pushing government and industry to seek scalable solutions like 3D printing. Okay. Yes. So this spider robot was effectively designed to be a lunar rover for building cone huts on the moon. However, the researchers built it. There is no video of it being demonstrated. It's kind of a proof of concept, but it is an interesting concept that this robot would be able to do something like this. And it's an interesting way of going about 3D printed houses where you have the robot effectively riding along the rail of the house to get it grown. But it is a cool baseline, and the 3D printed houses will be, and will continue to be a pretty nifty application. This is meant to be a demonstration of a space technology that has applications here on Earth. Okay. Formlabs offers the entire spectrum of resin colors and finds that customers want a box of crayons. After granting its Form 4 users in the US the godlike power to 3D print in any custom color imaginable, Formlabs CRO Nick Graham says customers were crippled by the sheer tyranny of the RGB spectrum. Customers gave us the feedback that they would prefer some standard options to get them started. Formlabs has now rolled out a 16-pack of pre-selected classic colors. This is a really funny piece of news because you guys, if you watch the show regularly, you know how much I hate giving huge numbers of color options because it creates decision fatigue for customers, and literally giving people every color is a lot. So having just standard colors of here's blue, purple, red, yellow, green is more helpful to a lot of people because they can just get started and get close enough to what they want that it's fine. So this news was per all 3DP, but yeah, Formlabs introduced kind of the standard selection of colors in order to make it easier for folks. And it's so easy when creating a product to be like, more is better, and it very often is not. If you're offering all of the options, it means you don't really know what your customers want, which is fine. You need to experiment with that, but then you need to rapidly iterate, as Formlabs has done, and say, okay, we gave everybody every color, but people are only using these 5 colors. Let's just take those 5 colors out and make them the ones that people care about. Okay, another one. Which infill pattern enhances the crash worthiness of your 3D printed parts? In a new study, which may not come as a surprise to veteran makers, the cubic subdivision won out over the octet, gyroid, grid, and concentric, among 5 others, as the infill had the highest energy absorption efficiency due to its desirable progressive folding failure mode. This suggests that parts like helmets can absorb a maximum amount of energy while transmitting the minimum amount of peak force. Researchers use glass-filled PLA. This is just kind of an interesting nugget. The infill cubic subdivision is a really interesting infill because you have kind of this variable density throughout it. But yes, it's not very surprising that it's the best way of absorbing stuff because you have a hard layer, softer layer, softer layer, softer layer. So it's able to absorb all the variations of a force as it's slowing down. And the other infills that are consistent don't really have that. But yeah, just interesting piece of nugget right there. And last piece of news, I wanted to give credit where credit is due. Like, we talk about American manufacturing a lot on this podcast, and I give U.S. manufacturers a lot of flack because my opinion on the subject is that people often use made in the USA as an excuse to be bad at their job. And they're like, it's made in the USA, it's better quality, and we have higher labor costs. I'm like, no, you're just bad at your job. If an entity 5,000 miles away is able to ship across an ocean, put it in a warehouse, and then still deliver it for customers for less than you were screwing up your job, especially right now when you have tariffs. Now, a lot of U.S. manufacturers have been using tariffs as an excuse to keep their prices high because they're like, oh, now the Chinese isn't competitive with us anymore. We can match their price at tariff or still be a little bit higher, and we don't have to get good. So that's always been super frustrating to me. But again, credit where credit is due. 3D Fuel reduces prices on popular filaments by nearly 25%. The main example I'm going to use is that their PLA dropped down to about $25 a spool, a little over $25 a spool, which is reasonable. That is pretty much the cost of a spool on Amazon. It's $20 to $25 for cost of a spool on Amazon. There's not free shipping involved with it, but that's fine. That is good. 3D Fuel has been growing up really fast, and John Schneider over there does a good job with stuff. But to see them say, okay, we're going to continue to reduce prices is great to see. That they are actually working in that direction and not just kind of milking it, because it's so easy to just milk it. So good for them. And hopefully their volumes continue to increase. To make sure nobody thinks I'm going soft or this is sponsorship or whatever else it was, 3D Fuel makes a lot of PCTG, and PCTG is still the dumbest brand name on the planet. But no, yeah, it's good to see 3D Fuel doing that. Still not $10 like Tangled filament, but it's pretty good. Alrighty, next piece of news / company update as we're bleeding into here. $1,000 prize to student teleport or portal stores. So we released a couple shorts about this earlier, and we had a blog announcement on the Slant Pod website. We will be paying $1,000 to any .edu account on portals that sells $1,000 worth of merchandise. Of course, don't do fraud, don't do the things, don't have your sister buy the things, don't cheat. In obvious ways, you have to legitimately sell the stuff. Otherwise, you don't get the cash. But this is what we wanted to do. Like, we did prize earlier this year. This prize is running from October 1st to December 1st. And no, if you're 5 minutes late when you hit it, doesn't count. Those kind of things. But we did it. We set it up right now so that people have all of October to set up a store and then all of November to have the peak Christmas season, because November is the biggest selling month. Oddly enough, December is not. Also in December, all kinds of weird stuff is going on to where the supporting of the prize and that kind of thing can be rough. But the prize, we are targeting it at students so that they are the ones who do it. Like, we think it's really important that Portals is a totally free way to start selling a product, which is perfect for students who have no money. But we wanted to create an incentive structure to where there's not ambiguity about your success. So if you make $1,000 of revenue, not $1,000 of profit, That's what you get after you sold all the stuff. No, revenue. You sold this many things. So you could sell one item for $1,000 technically, provided it's not a fraud job. You can sell 10 items for $100 or 1,000 items for $1, whatever it happens to be. And if you do that, we will pay you $1,000. We want students using portals because it's such a great opportunity for people to build a side hustle or an alternative income or grocery money when you're in school, that we wanted to incentivize that. So if you want to get involved with the prize, literally everyone who is on portals right now is already signed up for the prize. So you have to sign up for portals. But if you're on portals and you're selling stuff, if you reach $1,000 in the next 2 months, you will be paid an additional $1,000 on top of your royalties and everything else. So it's a really good opportunity for people, and we're really excited to have that turned loose out there. I don't know what questions there are to ask. It's pretty straightforward. You make $1,000 in revenue legitimately, and you'll get paid $1,000. That's the thing. So you must sign up for portals with a .edu account. That's like the kicker or whatever else it was, so that we know that you're actually a student. So yeah, if you're 4 years out, we still can't really readjust it, and we're not going to track that down, so you're fine. We could if we wanted to, but we're probably not. So long as you're not 45 and have a .edu account, it's probably fine. But yes, wanted to do that for students. Okay, next update. Teleport and portals. So last week we released third-party components and multi-part printing on portals. So that is all available inside of the advanced mode. Up on the upper right, there's a little toggle that clicks you to advanced when you're creating a model. And then you can use the advanced feature or just, upgrade the account right there. So that's an easy way to do it. We have, there's a bunch of updates on this whole thing. More third-party components have been added, included a new stronger light puck, additional lamps and lights and fixtures. And then we keep on adding more third-party parts all the time. If you have a request, go ahead and send it over to support@slant3d.com, and we'll get that added in. So if you're just like, hey, I need whatever included for my part or whatever else it was, let us know, and we'll get them into warehousing. We're pretty open about all that stuff. This coming week on Teleport, so anybody who's connected into Etsy stores, functionality should be coming out for custom insert cards. What this is you will be able to upload a PNG image, and then on every packing list, that image, which can be up to a 4x6 in size, will be printed out and included in the box for you, so that you get additional contact info and instructions or a QR code or branding. You can put whatever you want on that 4x6 sheet, and it'll be thrown in the box for you. So there's that. That's the updates on Teleport and portals. We are ramping up for Christmas. We are expecting to keep our 2 to 5 day processing time on all that stuff. It may potentially go longer, guys. Christmas is going to be weird this year. Like, there's just so much going on, and we also don't know. It's tough to project around portals and Teleport. But we are working as hard as we can to make sure that we're as ahead of whatever we expect it to be, but it could be something we don't expect. We'll keep that processing time. Get signed up. It is possible that during the Christmas season, we will stop new signups to Teleport and Portal. That is a feasibility. So if you want to get on right now. Because once we're into, we can't take any more people. We're not going to take any more people. Yeah, that's all that stuff. Okay. Moving on to Tangled. Not much with Tangled. Tangled is rolling along. It's $10 filament. It's over there at tangledfilament.com. And it ships out basically right away. And we've stored up a whole mess of it and storing up more of it here to stay ahead for Christmas. So when all the other black PLA runs out, there should be some other options. Print at high temperatures. And we're working on getting new spooling equipment in that will accelerate that. Though right now, given what time of the month it is, that stuff's probably not going to go in until about January. So that. Okay. Okay, that's the stuff, guys. We can move into discussion topic, which I'm pretty sure is a separate clip. Okay, guys, so I had filmed a good chunk of podcast, but Sora 2 came out this week. It was just, there was too much about it and so much discussion around it that was heated and disgusted and happy and excited and all these different things, to where I was like, I don't normally do this, but I had to get something out there. This Sora 2 is such, I think, kind of a watershed moment in where AI is. And all the discussions and all the takes I've taken from Hank Green to Linus Tech Tips, Casey Neistat, whoever it is, all of them are doing a 5-minute video about their reaction to Sora and how it relates to creators and creation. And as a creator, as a product designer, as an engineer, as an AI user, and someone who also just knows quite a bit about that industry and the people in it, I wanted to add something to it so that people would have more information. So that's what this is. First of all, before I get to Sora, I want to give background around Sam Altman, OpenAI, Jensen, everybody else involved in this. Because these are currently people who are caricatures of billionaire CEOs in the public perception, but people don't really know who they are and where they came from. And I think that's really important when defining and understanding what they're doing right now. So I want to give a little context about that. So Sam Altman is a gay Jew from St. Louis, Missouri. His parents, his mother was a dermatologist. His dad was effectively a low-income real estate developer working at nonprofits for most of his life. Sam was very precocious from a young age, as they all were. He's 2 or 3 years old, reading books, all the things that you would expect kind of the stereotypical Silicon Valley person to be. But Sam was brilliant from really early on. He grew up, his family was upper middle class, but not reliably so, because his mom was building out a practice when he was kind of coming to age. His dad had intermittent work with nonprofit stuff. And then Sam grew up with his siblings. And then Sam ended up going to a private school for some chunks of high school, and then public school for some chunks of grade school, because his parents wanted him to be rounded. But he ended up going to Stanford. Almost didn't go to Stanford. He almost went to University of North California. No, that's not right. UNC. I'm losing my mind on the acronyms. But he did that in order to save some money. But his parents said, no, you can go to Stanford. And Sam figured out ways of paying for it. At Stanford, Sam studied computer science, all the things, until he came to his sophomore year at Stanford, where he applied to a then nascent incubator called Y Combinator, which was based in Boston, Massachusetts. Paul Graham, who was the original founder of Y Combinator, picked Sam to be Sam was the very first person that Y Combinator funded. And that funding was $6,000 in order to build a mobile app that would be able to track your location via flip phone or via GPS requirements. Also, by the way, the requirement of phones to provide GPS coordinates was a requirement by the FCC at the time, and many people argued against that requirement. When it became federal regulation that phones track you, Sam decided, okay, well, this is an interesting new feature. I would like to do something with this because it's a new technology coming down. So that company eventually became Looped. Paul Graham is very well known inside of software development and the Silicon Valley world for writing a lot of essays around starting companies and operating as a founder. Graham himself had created a website that was eventually sold to Yahoo, and then has since created Y Combinator. Y Combinator today is a multi-billion-dollar venture capital firm, effectively, that doesn't present that because they're fully private and they only invest, right now I think it's $100,000 into companies, but we'll get to that. Sam went to Y Combinator, started up Looped. Over the next couple of years, he continued to grow it. He effectively dropped out of Stanford at that time, but Sam was 19 when he got into Y Combinator. The next few years, he worked on that app, and it was effectively a failure, but one of the most fantastically judo-moved successes out of failure that you can imagine, because Sam ended up selling it for $55 million, even though it was a failed product. It was not a good product. They never got good users, and it never really worked. But Sam, at that moment, kind of showed his consummate deal-making capability, where he was able to take that failure and turn it into a $55 million exit. After that, Sam basically got pulled in by Paul Graham to become the president of Y Combinator, which was effectively the CEO. And for all intents and purposes, was the CEO. Sam ran Y Combinator for 10 years. Anyway, Sam ran Y Combinator for 10 years, investing and finding some of the biggest startups that you know. Airbnb, Stripe. Those are all guys that came up kind of under and with Sam. Sam is really good friends with Brian Chesky of Airbnb, that kind of stuff. These companies are kind of the seminal companies of the last 10 years. Many of them came through Y Combinator under Sam's tenure. Sam got to advise them, watch them, invest in them. In 2016, Sam ended up starting up a nonprofit called OpenAI. Let me get back to that in just a moment. It was kind of sort of part of an internal work at Y Combinator, kind of separate. I mean, there were multiple different projects that kind of culminated in the creation of OpenAI. It was started with a few different people. One of them was Ilya Sutskever. Ilya studied under Geoffrey Hinton at the University of Toronto in Canada. Wait, I'm not sure it's the University of Toronto. Check me on that, but in Canada. Ilya and Geoffrey Hinton and several other collaborators had created AlexNet a few years earlier. AlexNet was the first widespread, wild demonstration of machine learning, early stage LLMs, in order to identify images. The AlexNet won a competition where they were basically, at most entrance into the competition, were able to classify images about 50 to 70% accurately. AlexNet came in and just sweeped everybody and had about an 80% accuracy and kept improving from there. Google, funny story, Google ended up acquiring the intellectual property / the team / the company, whatever it was at that time, in an auction against Baidu, Google, Microsoft, and a couple others. It's a very funny story that research was effectively sold off in an auction overnight, and the auction actually never ended. I believe it was Geoffrey Hinton just said, "No, I'm just done with this. You're the winner. We're going over here," and he effectively picked Google, and then became head research scientist at Google for the next several years, for almost 10 years, more than 10 years. Ilya was on that research team, basically ushered in machine learning, which allowed Google image search to work really well, and you had the big machine learning craze of 2016. OpenAI is founded. Sam starts up the company. Sam starts it up with funding from multiple different sources. Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, plenty of other people. Sam knows everybody. Everybody would give Sam money, even for a nonprofit thing. It was a nonprofit. Elon did give them tens of millions of dollars for a nonprofit. I have no idea how that nonprofit did turn into a company and Elon's just kind of out of the cash. That is still weird to me, and I don't understand what it is. I do know that after all the lawsuits have settled, OpenAI still exists, and Elon's kind of kicking rocks, but doing okay on his own. So I have no idea what that situation was. Ilya Sutskever, one of the co-founders, left OpenAI 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago. AI is moving fast. In order to start his own company, it's currently worth $10 billion or whatever it was, because he's just associated with it, and they're working on safe AI. So that's the background of all of these people and kind of the dynamics of how it came together. I'm missing a part in here somewhere. Oh, Jensen Huang. NVIDIA. NVIDIA created the technology that allowed AI to happen. NVIDIA was started in 1993 by Jensen Huang and his two co-founders, Machowski and Priem. They got together and said, hey, we were working at Sun Microsystems, and we realized that you can make this specialized chip that improves the processing of graphics on the side. Let's just make that chip and put it into IBM clones, and gamers will buy it. They built 2 chips. Neither one of them sold very well. And then on their 3rd chip, they scraped through and survived because they actually used computer simulation in order to simulate the chip before sending it for tape out, which is when the chip is actually finished up and put into production. NVIDIA proceeded after those first 2 failures, 3rd one hit it, kept on growing and doing quite well in the context of graphics, but kind of floating along. They went public for about $1 billion valuation, or no. They went public to $1 billion valuation in 1997, floated through those years. They had revenue radically increase because of some console deals and just growth of graphics processing in general. Then they, over the next 10 to 15 years, they worked really closely with academia, keeping track of kind of the high research areas where GPUs were way better than CPUs for doing complex calculation. And to Jensen's credit, he was very forward-thinking in recognizing that building specialized GPU chips for things like tensor calculations and machine learning algorithms, all that kind of stuff, would be valuable and would be useful. And he also invested in effectively the operating system that runs on top of all NVIDIA chips that allows them to do a lot of this stuff, which is called CUDA. That created the software infrastructure that allowed people to maximally utilize the GPUs that NVIDIA made. Took a lot of flack for that in public markets because it was a very expensive project that did not yield any revenue until about 2023. Jensen is children of immigrants, came over, grew up in the southwest of the United States, got beat up a bunch, but was super tough, scrappy little fella. Ended up working at I think he was working at Sun Microsystems for about 10 years or so. He started NVIDIA when he was about 32. As of today, Jensen Huang is the longest serving tech CEO in human history, outlasting Bill Gates, outlasting Elon Musk, outlasting any of them. Jensen has been the CEO of NVIDIA for 32 years. 32 years. And he has been the only CEO there the whole time. Jensen regularly meets with 50 direct reports and is constantly embedded in everything that's going on in NVIDIA and does not have a daily planner schedule. He kind of goes with the flow. That's a little bit of an oversimplification of what he actually does, but he doesn't have his day blocked out in 15-minute increments. That's Jensen. He's been working really hard for a long time. Recently, I was reading a book about it, and they quoted a couple of employees that were acquired from a company that went out of business when NVIDIA was competing. And those employees said, we went to NVIDIA, and we were like, man, I wonder what their secret sauce is. And then they got there, and they're like, oh, there's no secret sauce. They just outworked us. NVIDIA was the first GPU company to start having chip releases every year, which was new because most companies would have a development cycle of 2 to 3 years, and then they'd maybe catch the Christmas season. NVIDIA recognized that, hey, we need a new chip every year, so they would introduce a core chip And then right behind it at the next season, they would have an upgrade to that chip and an evolution of that chip, and then so on. So they would move very quickly and would always be in cadence with video game releases when people buy them at Christmas. So NVIDIA became one of the primary graphics cards developers. Okay. That's origin of that company, origin of Sam, origin of Jensen, a few of the co-founders who are significant. Okay. Bringing us up here to kind of ChatGPT and Sora. Many people know this history. This is recent history. Okay. Sam Altman, as an origin story, doesn't have anything in his history that makes him wildly an out-of-character person. If you look at someone like Elon Musk, it is conceivable but not very accurate to say that he has some checkered past from coming from South Africa and that kind of stuff. It's not really correct, but I can see how people could see that. There's not really that in Sam's history. Sam was a precocious kid who went to Silicon Valley and made good. So there's nothing there to presume bad character or even necessarily like money motivations. Sam really loved technology. Always did. Jensen equally really loves technology. Always did. Jensen is a computer scientist, an electrical engineer who's been working on that ever since. Both of them are deal makers. Jensen is a very good business person, in addition to being a really good engineer. Sam is an exceptional business person. If you don't believe that, look at the deals that he's pulled with AMD. OpenAI today is worth $500 billion. AMD is worth $350 billion. So in this new chip deal that OpenAI just cut with AMD, OpenAI can get up to 10% of AMD, which is a wild deal for a startup. Okay, you've got OpenAI starts plugging away on stuff from 2016 going on forward, end up making several of the models being very open source about it. You get up to GPT-2, and it's able to write basic articles, news articles that are a little bit hairy, but kind of work. They're really informative about how they're working. And then you get to GPT-3 and 3.5, and that's, of course, the watershed moment of ChatGPT, to where it becomes the most downloaded app ever and ushers in the craziness that we're in right now. You get up to 2 years ago, and you have Will Smith eating spaghetti. And now you get, and that was one video that wasn't good that got released, and everybody's like, it'll never happen. And now you have Sora and the Sora app. And now you have thousands of videos that are basically perfect. I mean, they're still AI looking, but basically perfect. Generated by thousands. I'm going to get to the significance of this around 3D printing here in just a moment, but I want to continue with the reactions. Sora 2, if you listen to Hank Green, his concern is the fact that truth is disappearing because there is zero friction to now create dangerous content. That's fair. There was already unlimited dangerous content on the internet. I don't know why AI-generated content makes it any worse. And the reason for this is, okay, say you have Russian hackers who are trying to influence the U.S. election. So they create a bunch of grandma Facebook accounts and start pretending to be grandmas over here saying, hoorah, whoever. They are limited by the number of people that they can get out there. But as a content creator, I know it's not that hard to create 100 pieces of content per day. So one person can influence 100 people, create 100 pieces of content per day, which can influence millions of people. You, as a person consuming content, cannot watch the entire internet in your lifetime. Couldn't do that in 1995. Let alone today. There are 6,000 hours of video uploaded to YouTube a day, or not, or no, it's less than that, or it's more than that. It's like per minute. It's bananas. There was way more content than anyone could ever consume on the internet. And now AI has created 10 times more than way more content than you could ever consume. So you had infinity, and now you have 10x infinity. The thing I have to say is, like, I wasn't going to swim across the ocean in the first place. Why do I care if the ocean is now 10 times bigger? So in this context, it's like, I couldn't watch all of the content out there, misleading, good, or otherwise. Why do I care if there's now 10 times more and 10 of it is AI slop? Half of the internet was already bots wandering around. The response to this is that the AI slop is going to take away from core creators. I get that fear, and I also think it's completely wrong. As a content creator, I know for the last, Sora, when released, many of you probably saw Sam Altman in various situations, because he could upload his likeness, and then you can bring his likeness into other videos with you and put your likeness into other videos. Whole separate issue with that. But Sam, I could have, for the last year and a half, cloned myself based off the video on our YouTube channel and had a very accurate clone of me right here. I'm a talking head. This is not a hard thing to copy. Had a clone of myself host videos for the last year and a half. We could have done that. The reason I didn't is twofold. Number one, I'm a little bit weirded out by it, and I don't want my likeness to just be wandering around being puppeted by one of my editors. I don't care for that. No offense to my editors, but secondly, I know that the reason you guys are watching this right now is because it's me talking. Humans have a connection to humans. Equally, this is the same reason we watch live sports. This is the same reason, even though we could go watch some dramatized movie of a football game, but that's a story. Watching a live sport of a team that you care about and the players who you know, you're going to watch that ahead of some dramatized video game, or some dramatized game that you haven't seen before. And AI will never create a fake football game for you to follow, because even if they do, you're going to be like, I don't know who those players are. I don't care. It's not my team. This is the same thing with creators. Many of you guys who are watching this are watching it because you're on the Slant 3D team. You like coming around here and working with us with what we're doing about reducing the cost of production and creation of products. But that is what protects me as a creator. And as AI slop continues to grow and even get better to where it's indistinguishable or perfect, which is very likely to come about, you aren't going to connect with it. You're going to have a stigma against it because it's AI, and you will have a preference for real people making content. Casey Neistat had a reaction to this, and he was talking to two of his friends who were also video creators, and he's like, how do you like this? And they're like, we love this. This is great stuff. These are great videos on this. Hank Green thinks the videos are terrible on TikTok, but a lot of people will find them perfectly entertaining. Hank Green's a content snob, and he's allowed. But people will love AI videos, but they will want to toggle to real humans. We always do. Humans are just monkeys. We like being around each other. And these mediums, this video, this website, everything else, is a way by which we get to connect to each other and know that each other is real. Now, that's not to say that there won't be AI influencers and that kind of stuff. They will exist. But the real influencer, like, I think that I, as a content creator, will become more valuable as there is more AI. Because all the AI, if somebody can create one AI influencer over there, an equivalent one can be created instantaneously someplace else. So neither one of them have any value, but you can't immediately replicate what we do here because it's a human. There's a spontaneity to it. And by the way, I agree that we are not going to get into the argument about AI creativity. AI is as creative as many people. But that's a different thing. So I don't think that AI slop is coming for creators. I think it makes creators more valuable. A reporter who was there when the shot was fired and took a picture and has receipts is way more valuable. An expert who has deep expertise and has researched stuff and talked to other experts and not just said what AI told them to say is deeply valuable. Someone unique and entertaining with a story that they share is far more valuable than a generic and low effort or low cost replication. Because if AI is going to continue to decrease in cost, which means that anybody can make it, which means that it's increasingly bad. Now, Casey Neistat, when he was talking about the creation process, he's like, okay, it used to be really hard to make movies. You used to have a studio and cameras and people and actors and everything else. And now it's all boiled down to you need a prompt. Like you need to describe a video and that video will be created for you. This is going to be really relevant to 3D printing in just a moment. This right here. But he said, okay, now a video is just a prompt away. And I'm like, that's irrelevant. Creativity and creators are a percent of the population that is small. Many people don't search up content, they're presented content. Search of something is a creative process. Research is a creative process. Creating the video that you want to see is a creative process. If I say I want to see an action movie with Schwarzenegger fighting another dude, like that gives no information to the AI, and the AI is still building off of past human work to where it's going to be a generic sort of a version and not necessarily what I was wanting to watch. Whereas if I find out that Tom Hanks made a movie, there's an action movie with Schwarzenegger fighting an alien, I would be like, Tom Hanks makes good movies. I'm going to go watch his movie before I watch the AI generated one because I trust Tom Hanks to have made a good movie. Like that kind of thing. So even though videos can be created with a prompt, that doesn't mean that they're good or that they're watchable, because that prompt is still a creative exercise in description and imagination. Getting back, this is going to come full circle with 3D printing. Linus over at LTT had a reaction around the dangers of this, and I've had this conversation with people close to me around how the holes of the internet can get deeper to where someone is socially susceptible or bullied or suicidal, any of those things. AI can create deeper and deeper holes to where they go into a spiral of just perversion. And that's true, except that I know that things like ChatGPT have perpetually and continually reduced and eliminated that. Like there are moderation tools in there that prevent those types of things. That doesn't mean they get all of them. It doesn't mean they get every situation. And there's a lot of work to be done on that still, but it is improving. That's not to say that it's going to be solved or that even these people are the right people to solve them. But going back to the beginning of it all, when like Sam says we're working to fix this, I do believe him. And one of the reasons that I really believe Sam, like this generation of Sam, not just child Sam brought forward, but who he is today, is because 2 years ago, Sam was fired. He was fired by the board of well-meaning people, including Ilya Sutskever, who understands the technology deeply and importantly. Sam was fired for not appropriately communicating with the board. Those are all the details we have. But in the span of 2 days, every single employee of OpenAI signed a letter that said, if Sam's not put back in as CEO, we quit. And you could make the argument, Sam is on record and in interviews, he has said, a good company is not just a good product, a good company is a cult. He has said that. But he's meaning like in passion, like Apple users are part of a cult. Tesla users are part of a cult. Indeed, right now, ChatGPT users might be part of a cult. But OpenAI employees, I could believe that it was a cult if a majority of the employees signed that letter and said, we'll quit and follow Sam. But to have every one of them say, we quit and follow Sam, except for the board, and then have multiple of the board members redact and step back and recount that, that doesn't seem cultish to me. That sounds more like leadership. Cults start to crack in certain scenarios. But to have everyone say, we're going with Sam to this new job, and also to have people like Satya Nadella say, we're hiring Sam immediately for our project. If you don't know the story of Satya Nadella, he has a kid with, I don't recall if it's autism or Down syndrome, but he has a family. He's been in Microsoft for his entire career. He's a deeply ethical person who doesn't deal with BS. So again, if Sam was running a cult, he would have just said, don't need you, Sam. I'm going to hire all your researchers when they quit. But I don't need you. So that's why I kind of trust Sam in this moment. In the fact that he was fired, but then everyone around him who worked for him, who was doing the work for him that he was asking them to do, was like, I'm good with this, let's go. That's not to say that Silicon Valley still doesn't have a bubble of AI love and that kind of stuff to where there could just be a general cultural distaste for that, but I don't think so. Okay, so presuming Sam is operating ethically and that kind of stuff, OpenAI is working to fix these problems. Even if you want to be cynical about it, say, okay, Sam's a cynical billionaire who's just looking to maximize money. Well, it's a really bad product if people are ending their lives due to your application. So that, I don't want to lighten up that topic, but like this is really important to make true. Like, to be cold-hearted bastard business person for a moment, it's really bad if that's what your product does. So you really are incentivized to fix those sort of problems. Okay, so there's all that. There's still tons of dangers with the psychological ramifications of people interacting with AI, from AI boyfriends to all kinds of different things, but AI girlfriends, all kinds of different things. Okay, there's all that. Intellectual property, IP, everything on it all, yeah, OpenAI stepped on toes with that one, but that's a different conversation. Okay, why is this so relevant to us with 3D printing? We internally, for the last 2 years, ever since DALL-E came out, have been working with the AI tools. And 2 years ago, we pitched to people the concept of a thing called magic.com, which is someone will go to a website, they will type in what they're looking for. Oh, I want a Ghost headphone stand. And then 20 product listings will show up, and they will pick one, they'll say buy now, and they will then once they say buy now, that product will be created and sent to a print farm like ours where we will print and ship it out. And then that product will never exist again. I posted a video about this 2 years ago, and I said we were about 3 years away from this happening. I think I'm almost perfectly on time with that prediction. Sora, the generation of a video, is equivalent to the generation of a 3D model. Right now, AI 3D model generators can create products. We're just not able to create the user interface to where magic.com works really well. Here's the thing. We operate a platform where designers sell their designs to be printed and delivered to people. So we have the same problem that Sora does. Are we going to allow AI slop, AI-generated images and models, to force out designers, or are we going to double down on designers? And the answer is, it's a combination of both. And I hate that because it's such a political answer. Here's what I know, though. The designers are going to get more valuable the same way that YouTubers are going to get more valuable. AI designs will always be limited based on the prompt, the direction, based on the prompt and how creative the person is. If a person doesn't know to search for something, they won't think of something. Look at the designers on Instagram who are creating 3D models. They are creating unique products that you look at and you're like, oh, that's amazing. Why didn't I think of that? But the point is that you didn't think of that. We didn't think of that. That designer did. They created it. And that insight is still very uniquely human. If you want to know about this, try to get ChatGPT to tell a story that is unique. That's not to say that it's still not going to be creative in all kinds of ways and more creative than most humans, but it's like not very unique. 3D model designers, again, myself included there. I really like AI tools for creating all kinds of models. So peg with 4 holes in it or plate with 4 holes in it and that kind of stuff. It is better and grander than that kind of stuff for me. Right now we use it for generating software. And the biggest value it has is eliminating scut work. It takes so much work off your table so that the final polish can be done by you, can be done by the human designer. Human designers also just have context and nuance and taste that is so valuable, to where I would think that if we had opened up the platform and just said, throw out a bunch of AI models, which you can do right now, but then you also had designers, I'm certain that designer products would get more sales than the AI generated models, if for no other reason than that the actual designers have more marketing budget than the AI models. The AI generated model is only useful in the moment that somebody looks for it and it's created, and then it's gone. Or there are so many of them created that you cannot pay to run an ad against every AI generated model. Whereas the designer can afford to spend $100 to advertise their product. And they also have a story, a personality, and attention attached to it, to where people will love that product more because it's created and imagined by a person than if it's created by AI. A thing I like to say a lot of times around the AI situation is if you're bad at your job, you just got replaced, and if you're good at your job, you just got 10 times better. I think that's the case. For anyone who's a very good designer, AI is a fantastic tool that can 10x what your productivity is. If you're bad at your job and you don't know how to tell story and brand or market or anything like that, you've just gotten replaced. Because if you make a bracket that anybody can design, well, now anybody like an AI can now design it. But if you make nuanced and beautiful products that have your panache and your story in them, and then you tell about that story on Instagram and build up a following of people who love you as a human, you have a tremendous advantage over the mass ocean of bot spam. There's just a lot. But I am still very optimistic around artificial intelligence. There's a lot of people around me who are not. But the productivity is very clearly there and getting closer. I don't care about agents or the effectiveness of them or how glitchy they can be. The core contextualization of knowledge is stupidly valuable. The creation of new content just makes human creators more valuable. Perfect example of this. A mass manufactured chair from IKEA is purchased by a lot of people, but the margins are kind of thin. The chair doesn't have a lot of love attached to it, short of that was my furniture in college. But the people who still carve chairs out of wood sell those chairs for more than they ever have in history. But 100 years ago, before chairs were made in factories, every town had a chair maker who would make a decent living carving a chair for everybody in town. And they were just a mini assembly line. Once it was mass produced, more people could get cheaper chairs, but then the value of the guys who were still really good at their craft, at carving a beautiful chair, improved. A chair that they would have sold for $100 now sells for $2,000. And society and the overall productivity of society grew to support that artisan that people love and respect and like and who want to buy good quality goods from with panache and intention, but also allows so many people who couldn't afford that artisan before to get access to stuff. And that's what AI is doing. I think it's very reminiscent of traditional industrial sort of revolutions. So yeah, Sora 2 has lots of problems and is weird and crazy and scary if you're a video creator. But I don't think it should be, because this has all been done before. We could Photoshop videos. We could create masks and makeup and film with grainy footage in order to lie, obfuscate, and create confusion. That's all been around before, and there's more of it on the internet than any of us can ever watch in a lifetime. The abuse of these tools adds more stuff out there, but it doesn't make it any more watchable than it's ever been before. Because again, I couldn't swim across the ocean before. Why do I care if the ocean's now 10 or 100, 1,000 times bigger? I still am not going to swim across it. And I'm still no less intimidated. So AI's made the internet bigger. It's not a big issue. But it does enable a lot of things. It doesn't appear that the people who are working on this are fundamentally evil in any sort of way, or even poorly motivated. Sam still does not own a lot of AI stock because he was a billionaire before that. And a lot of people misunderstand this, but when you're a billionaire, you're pretty much set for life, and you don't really need much more. You might want power, but you don't need more money. Sam most definitely is a guy who likes positions of power and being significant, but he has not, so far as we can tell, abused those. He is using a playbook that is very well understood inside of startup cycles, and looks weird from the outside. But OpenAI as a whole has improved and gotten better ethically and technologically. So if you look at Sora as a demonstration of what ChatGPT was before, ChatGPT, when it was first released, you could generate pornos from. And now it will say, no, you can't do that. And while there's still plenty of cracks in it, they're closing continually. And Sora is at that same stage, where it's the early stage. You can do all kinds of abuse and terrible things with it that are incorrect, but it will get better. And creators will still be valuable. And in the context of 3D printing, yes, 3D models are being generated, but credit where credit is due. The 3D printing community has already started to split AI generated from human created. That'll be more difficult to moderate in the future, but it'll just be more important for the designer to show their receipts by showing their face, telling their story, explaining who they are in a way that AI just can't, even if you created an AI personality to create your models. So that's my take on the whole Sora deal and a discussion around it in general, because there's just so much noise out there about this, and the AI isn't even a part of the conversation right now. So I was hoping to add just a little bit of clarity to this and experiment with a new video format, I guess, guys, because we talk about technology on here, but I try to keep it 3D printing related. But Sora was just so significant and kind of close to home with like what we are interacting with and observing from 3D model generation that I wanted to discuss it in depth and give kind of full context around it all. I'm still very bullish about AI. It's so super useful and creates so much opportunity for products to be created that would otherwise not be created. Imagine your grandma trying to fix a knob on her dishwasher, and she goes to Magic.com and says, I need a knob for a 1962 drum washer. And there's 10 knobs there, and one of them looks like a freaking chicken on its side or something. So she's like, that's cute. I can get that. And she's the only person on the planet who would ever want that and would still be able to get it, and which would create tremendous joy. Her dishwasher doesn't need replaced. And the part was created and no harm was done to a designer because no designer was making that. But equally, the designer can create something beautiful and special that people appreciate and connect to so that they can be more valuable, because all the low grade stuff of designing knobs and stuff is taken over by AI. So the human designer can now create something with taste and intuition built into it. So there's all that. Comment down below, guys, anything you have around AI. Yeah, we'll go from there. Hopefully you guys were able to learn something. I did want to give the backstories a lot of these folks and a lot of this stuff, because people just really don't know how this all sort of came to be, and I think it's just really important to know where it came from, because it changes it from a narrative sort of structure of like the billionaires are building AI to here's the people who built AI and as a consequence are becoming billionaires. So yeah. Anyhow. Have a great day, everybody.